Happy October. Welcome to the election edition of Just Moments. We are your hosts.
That election edition. I like that. That's good. That's good.
We are your hosts. And I'm Angela Jackson, and that is
Fred Jackson. I don't know my last name.
Well, it better be the same as mine.
I think so.
Okay. All right. So thank you all for joining. When you come in, please go ahead and give us some hearts. Make sure you follow, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, you can join our Facebook page, Fred and Angela Jackson, and also our Instagram page. Be sure to visit our website at www.faconceptsloc.com. We have a great show lined up tonight. Seems like it's been a minute. We had a week off or a couple weeks off.
Yeah.
But we're back. We're better. And we're ready to roll.
We gonna do this thing.
Yes. So just before we get started and introducing our guest that we have on tonight, I wanted to share a few announcements. We have the conference in Tracy, Broken Crayon Still Color. That conference is October 12th, starting at 10:45 a.m. promptly. And from what I hear, they're starting on time, and you get lunch at 12:15.
Everybody love learning.
Registration is $35, and you can visit Broken Crayon Still Color on Facebook. Contact me if you have any questions or if you need tickets. Tickets are still on sale. We also have same date, October 12th, the Daughters of Sarah. Have you registered yet? They are not taking registration at the door. So you have to get your ticket early. You have to get your ticket now. Please go to brushfire.com for that information. And it's an all-day event. It starts in the morning with a ladies' conference. And then in the evening, it's a ladies' night concert. And even yes, even though it says ladies' night for the concert in the evening, it's open to everyone. It's not just ladies. It's just the ladies, the pioneers of this movement that are putting it on. It's ladies' night for them. All right. It is, again, October 12th. All day. The event will be at Victory and Praise in the city of Stockton. So please go on to brushfire.com. You might still be able to get a discount on the ticket. And do we have one? We have one more. Oh, I have
You don't want to talk about yourself? You don't feel like talking about yourself? Okay,
I
we can move on.
I forgot. Please, if you have not, please go on to Amazon.com and get my 7-day Start Journey devotional. It will bless your life for those in business, entrepreneurship, and you want to get unstuck, get out of your own way, and stop self-sabotaging yourself. Please go ahead and do the 7-day devotional with a group of other business owners, or you can do it solo. It's okay. Whichever way you do it, just do it. And we have one more.
Yes. So as tonight, we will be talking about voting and the importance of it and what you may or may not know. Center of Praise Ministries, our justice response unit, will be doing a What's on Your Ballot virtual event. And that'll be Wednesday, October the 23rd, 6:30 to 8:30. So you can register at Justice Response at cop.church. So if you need more information after tonight, which I think you're going to get some great information, you can attend this event as well. All right. We don't want to waste any time because we want to get as much information out of these men of God on tonight. We have some returnees, and we got some newbies to the Just Moments family. And we are excited and thankful and grateful that they are going to be with us tonight. So the first person that we're going to introduce really doesn't need any introduction if you know him in the Stockton and Sacramento area. He is a mighty man of God. He is my big brother, and I love him so much. We are going to bring to the stage first Pastor Curtis Smith. He is the executive director of Faith in the Valley.
Woo-hoo!
We ain't grew up to sound effects yet, y'all. So sorry.
I have to get my new.
Yeah, y'all
app.
just have to get your own claps in. Our next person that we're going to bring up, he was on our voting show
4 years ago now.
Yeah, a few years ago. So it is really good to see him. He blessed us while we was here. We thought we was going to have a church moment. I needed a keyboard and an organ when he came and blessed us. But we are thankful for Reverend Eddie Anderson, that is a pastor and an organizer.
Woohoo!
All right. Our next person is a community activist in Sacramento area. I read one of his articles, and then he told me which one. So that means he putting in work. So we are glad to have him tonight. It is Conrad, Coach Crump.
All right,
the screen is starting to get a little tight here. All right. Last but not least, man, I know I should have asked this before we even got started, but this gentleman is a campaign manager for Prop 6, and his subject is just going to blow y'all away. I shouldn't even say it now, but I will. But we're going to be talking a little bit about ending slavery in California. And his name is Brandon Sturdivant. You make sure I say it. Tell me if I said it wrong.
Said it right.
Oh, thank you, God. Because I can kill a name.
Sure can.
I can kill a name.
Butcher it.
Well, gentlemen, again, thank you all so much for being on, and we really appreciate it. We're thankful that you want to give information out to our folks and let them know what's going on with this voting this year and the importance of voting. I'm always blessed to have a good conversation with my brother, Pastor Curtis, but he brought me some good backup, so I'm thankful tonight. So what I'm going to ask real quick before we get into what we're going to talk about is if each one of you will kind of give a little bit more about what it is that you do in your communities. So Brandon, we'll start first with you.
Hey y'all, happy to be here this evening, and appreciate y'all using y'all platform to educate our folks about voting and about the issues that are on the ballot. Right now, I'm coming to y'all as Prop 6 campaign manager, and so as you said, yeah, slavery still exists in 2024, and it's happening to our folks who are inside. They're calling it involuntary servitude, but it is our version of the 13th Amendment here in the state of California, and I am supporting a group of organizations called, the Abolish Bondage Collectively Coalition, led by Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, and also Communities United for Restorative Youth Justice. So some folks who are heavy hitting, been doing work for formerly incarcerated and directly impacted families for years. They got it to this far. They got it on the ballot as Proposition 6, and I'm taking it to the next level and supporting them to take it to the next level to win this campaign. But I also come at y'all as an organizer. I've organized for the better part of 2 decades, and that's how I know Pastor Curtis from my faith-based organizing days. So an organizer, also a healer. I'm a somatic practitioner and tap in with folks in a space we call Black Men Maroon Space, where we do deep transformation for Black men and take them on a transformational journey back to Ghana. So I'm kind of wearing a few hats, but in here to talk about voting today.
Okay.
I like the Ghana idea. That sounds amazing. All right. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate you, bro. Coach Crump, come on with it, sir. I feel like I know you already.
Man, I just want to firstly thank you and your wife for, providing a platform like this so folks can tap in and get informed. Brothers like Brandon, Pastor Smith, Reverend Anderson, all of y'all here, just being able to kick the knowledge. So I'm grateful and I'm thankful to be a part of the conversation. So thank you for having me. With that being said, I am representing the city of Sacramento. I put SAC on my back. I wear 916 on my chest proudly. And with that being said, I really am a community organizer, community advocate, and community activist. I wear many different hats. Specifically Racial Equity Council, where we work to reduce racial disparities across the city of Sacramento. We're currently working on a resolution. I work with the African American Advisory Board, which is a advisory board to Sac City Unified School District that talks about our Black youth, from suspension to attendance to climate in the classroom to a lack of Black teachers that have the cultural competency to work with our kids, to mental health supports, all of that. I also wear other hats where I am known as Coach Crump to a lot of young boys and men of color relating to mental health and wellness, as well as substance use prevention. There's a program called Brother Be Well, where we tap in with a lot of young brothers, and you can check out their website, brotherbewell.com, where we tap in with a lot of young brothers across the nation and help them, provide them with mental health support, clinicians, as well as youth counselors and supporters such as myself. So today, being that I've worked in the legislature at the state capitol for over a decade, I've worked in philanthropy. I was the guy giving out grants to underserved communities and nonprofits, using a racial equity lens in the work and administration of those grants, whether writing them or approving them, and also working as a lobbyist. I have a lot of different experience that I bring, and being that, I'm born and raised in Sac, and all political roads lead to Sacramento when it comes to statewide policy. I understand that the state capitol is really a place where people can have those conversations that can be supported or opposed. So I'm just here to try to add to the conversation today. So thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, thank you again. Thank you again, man, for being here. And that we'll introduce brother. Everybody know him, but I'm really excited when I heard that he wanted to come back. I was like, shoot, I need to go find me some sound. So just in case he started preaching,
right,
I'll be ready. But Pastor Reverend Eddie Anderson, introduce yourself to the people that may have missed last time.
It's so good to be back with you all, the Jacksons, and thank you for doing this show. Thank you, Pastor Curtis, also for linking me in. I'm Pastor Eddie. I'm the senior pastor of a church called McCarty Moore Christian Church in the city of Los Angeles. And I, for the last over a decade, have been an organizer with PICO, helped lead the Public campaign across the state of California, and founded Clergy for Black Lives as well. I've been able to serve on many boards and commissions, most of all just serve the people of God, right? And right now, my day job is serving God's people and also running a community development corporation in the city of Los Angeles, where we are building a grocery store, doing workforce development, doing literacy programming in our community as well, and breaking the chains of plantation capitalism in our society.
Amen. See, you just feel like you're ready to bring a message. Man. All right. Last but least, not least, I got to bring up my brother, and let me say this to all of Just Moments family. He was very integral in getting these awesome men of God here. So I want to publicly make sure I thank him for the work that he did in working to get this panel here so that we would have an amazing conversation. So Pastor Dr. Reverend
CL. He going by CL now. Okay.
Smith.
He graduated.
Yeah. Why don't you tell the folks that don't know you? I don't know who don't know you that probably don't follow this show, but go and tell them about yourself.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, my brother and sister, for what you're doing and for having this platform for us to be able to come on. I can't help but just be in a place of gratefulness right now as I look at the screen and thank God for allowing the paths of all of these brothers, and likewise, all of us have been intricate in my life, in some form and fashion. And so I'm just thankful to be in the space and to have the relationships. Some people base wealth upon monetary, capital. I say, but I base it a lot on relational capital. And what I see right here is investments. And basically, I'm able to withdraw from these great wells of knowledge and love, pure Black love and excellence. So I'm grateful of that. My story is I've been involved in faith-based organizing for about 24 years now. I was actually introduced to it in Sacramento, California, as a youth pastor at Genesis Church there. And there was this organization that just kept bugging us, talking about we needed to get involved. However, the time that they were bugging us was not really the impetus of me moving forward. It was looking around the community and dealing with, I should say, the relationships I was building with the youth in Meadowview. It was at the time that I was just coming into ministry, and I was just looking at, their day-to-day lives and finding out how me and my wife were actually taking kids home to our houses because some of the kids, their lights were turned off. They didn't have a place to go. They were bringing in other people from the community. And I was just saying, God, it just has to be more than this. It just has to be more than just the fact of saving souls. It's like the life that they're living. There's something more of that is connected to this. What can we do? And at that time, I was introduced to the idea of organizing, which I found out, like most of us, didn't know what it was until somebody gave it a title. It's like something we were already doing. I mean, I know that's the way that it felt with me. I was already doing that thing, but I didn't know exactly what to do, and I got trained a little bit more. So Sacramento was the start. Long story short is I ended up back in my hometown of Stockton, California, and I went looking for basically who's doing this work, because I found out that my family were actually they were, I want to say affected, but they were infected by the system that was here. I was, as my travels, I was afforded the opportunities to leave Stockton, California, because my father was in the military. My siblings didn't have that same opportunity. And out of 5 of my siblings, myself and my sister, we're the only ones who left, and we're the only ones alive. And so with that being said, is I started noticing the factors that basically cause, the situations and conditions and things that my family grew up in. And it was, what more could I do for a place that I vowed never to return to? It was like, no, with everything that God placed inside of me and everything that he basically expanded my mindset and learning, to go back and be a part of the change and do something about, what it is. And if I could just help, somebody, how they say, if I could just help somebody, along the way, we would go. So I eventually became on staff with the organization in 2016, and now worked my way to being the executive director of Faith in the Valley, which actually covers 5 counties within the Central Valley: San Joaquin County, Stanislaus County, Merced County, Fresno County, and Kern County. And so we do community organizing, faith-based community organizing in those spaces, working with students, congregations, allies, and everything, basically to develop the people power that we need to affect change. And we are in a unique area. This could be a whole show by itself, but we are in what I term Calabama. So this part of California, this Central Valley, ain't no joke, is not the California everybody thinks, exists, in California. So when I say, the work that Brandon is doing is so important, because in our area, we see this have been the complex, I say the fertile land to grow the prison industrial complex. And so when you talk about slavery, yeah, it's here, and it's become a business, for that. And it's become also a place of which many people have become a part of being employed. And I may cause some controversy in this, but there is a part that we have seen played by our own systems, our own religious systems, that have played into the whole factor of what this, but we have an opportunity to redeem all of this. And so that's why we're here tonight. It's about as much as I'm gonna really say, because I'm gonna let these gentlemen basically take the floor, because they've got the information that everyone needs. But yeah, it's time to break free.
Amen. He brought a sermon too.
Okay. Preachers and pastors. All right. Well, you brought the sermon and you went last, but I'm going to need you to go first on the first question. So one of the things, and of course this can go around, but I'll start back with you. But we want folks to know what is the importance of civil engagement in this election. And I know in our conversation that, of course, you and I have had, we're not just talking national, we're talking state, we're talking local. What is at stake, of course, and you and Brandon have already alluded to some already just amazing, eye-opening stuff. And what the cost will be for non-voters, because I know that's another conversation we had. If people are basically, well, I don't like either candidate, so I'm just not going to vote. So I'm gonna let you start, and then I'll pass that on after that to Pastor Anderson, and then Coach, and then we'll finish it off with Brandon.
Thank you. So I just start off by saying is that we're just in a real pivotal point in time as far as what's at stake in this year's election. Some of the things that are on the ballot, if I'll just put it like this, every vote is a voice. And so, we're a lot of times, you heard as people talking about talking loud and saying nothing. It's like, if we're going to talk loud about the situation, this system that we have is the system that we have at this current time while it exists to actually make a change. So it's every voice, it has the power to actually shape the future. So and when we don't show up, we give others the power to make decisions for us. There's a stating that says, if you're not, at the table, you're on the menu. And so, we really can't be on the menu. We got to be at the table. And then on issues, these issues are affecting our families, communities, our livelihoods. So this election is our chance to be heard. Whether it's, whatever that situation is for you in the healthcare, education, jobs. I really believe truly that your vote can make a difference. And what I will say is that I understand, where these conversations that I've been having in many places of why people have tapped out, kind of saying that they don't want to get involved, that their vote doesn't matter, or that they're saying, is that they're not really vibing with anybody, any candidate. And so it takes basically, I should say, relationships and deep discussion to understand is that there's more than just the presidential election, that's on the ballot. There's some important issues, and usually what we don't know, but they say what you don't know can hurt you. I would say, in this election right here, what we don't know not only can hurt us, but it actually can kill us. I'll go as far as that to say that is that important, I feel. So even if you never voted before, or even if you feel like it doesn't matter, showing up is a step forward towards the change that we want to see. So I believe everybody's voice is needed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Pastor Anderson, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I will add, because this is a faith-based audience, and I'm a pastor, I would say Timothy tells us that we ought to pray for our leaders, that we ought to make intercession for our leaders. And I will remind you that your vote is a prayer. Your vote is a prayer, and when you pray, you need to be specific. And so the question is, what is your moral obligation in this moment? I know we get tired of everyone saying every election, this is the election of your lifetime. I don't know. I've been doing it for a long time. They always say that. But this election is unique in that we can get off of the cycle of a doom loop. The doom loop that says, okay, Project 2025, we haven't talked about that, but Project 2025 is on the national scale. And on that Project 2025, it says that it wants to make sure that people who are woke, people, librarians and teachers who are woke can go to jail. It says that education department should be disbanded, that we used to have a heat wave in California, but we want to get rid of the EPA. The 2025 agenda says that stop and frisk should be the law of the land. And so while we are thinking about, oh, that's not us, we live in California. Well, I know Brandon's going to talk about it. Prop 6 says we need to end slavery. Prop 36 says we need to double down on making sure we lock people up. We're talking about housing, and do we deserve housing? We say everyone has dignity, and Jesus says the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to proclaim release to the captives and set the captives free. And that when I was hungry or when I was needed shelter, you were there. But Prop 5 says we need shelter. And some people, the apartment association and the renters is saying we don't want that because that's cutting into our bottom line. So they're putting profit over people. The question is for us, what kind of California do you want to live in? And if you can't care about the national election, at least look in your neighborhood, because you don't have to walk around with more liquor stores than you have grocery stores. You don't have to walk around wondering how many jobs you got to work to pay the rent. You don't have to walk around and wonder, will qualified immunity stand so they can lock me up or put me in jail? When your cousin comes home, will he find a job? When your sister needs health care, will that be provided in this state? That's all on the ballot right now. And so how will you pray? How will you pray? And will you put your prayers into action? For James still says, faith without works is still dead.
All right. Yes, sir. All right, Coach. You have anything to add to that?
No, he pretty much dropped the mic on that. I mean, I can't say it any better than that. I mean, I would just add, what he said. I really would say that I agree with completely in that all politics is local. A lot of times we focus on the presidential election, and that's what gets talked about in the news and on the radio and all of these things. But what's happening in your community? Community safety, economic prosperity, looking at, the whole housing and homelessness crisis. I know out here we have a measure on the ballot relating to rent control, and housing and things of that nature, looking at our environment and the ways in which our climate crisis and things that are happening that isn't really a topic of discussion. Also, things like this new wave of AI and how, artificial intelligence is really taking a wave, and how can we be responsible in that? I mean, there's so many different things that we can discuss and get involved with in our local community to be able to start to then outwardly make those changes. But I feel that it starts with you on the inside as an individual, with your relationship with, God, and then in your home, and then in your community, and then moving outwardly into your city, into your county, into your state, and then across the nation. But what he said was absolutely 100. I agree completely. So I'll keep it brief, but those are some of the things that come up for me, because I know in Sacramento, we're having those conversations about, some of the things that I mentioned, as well as incarceration, with the over policing and so on and so forth, and as well with Prop 6, which I'm sure Brandon will get into. But these are some of the things and conversations that folks should be having in their communities, as they think about their prayers and their votes. So
yeah, he said he didn't have nothing to say. All right. Sounded pretty good to me,
right?
All right, Brandon, we'll let you finish this off.
Yeah. Second in everything, or fourth in this case, everything that everybody just said before me. I think one of the things that I've struggled with a little bit is being out there and seeing folks who are a little bit apathetic with the election, just because of the amount of life that is happening. We're witnessing stuff still happening in the Middle East, right? Like escalating, if you will. Our communities have, for a lot of folks, don't feel safer than they did 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago. Folks we're in some real economic trouble. People are struggling. And so some folks that I'm experiencing are like, why does it matter if I vote? That's actually not going to impact my life. I am like, as we're knocking on doors, as we're on the phones with folks, we're running into that. And to that, I say, like, look, something is powerful when people want to take it away from you.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a history in this country of like having to fight to vote, having to fight to keep the vote, and fight to keep it again and again. If you look at some of what's happening now in North Carolina and Texas, they're like scrubbing people from the rolls, trying to make sure we can't vote. So it's absolutely important in that case that we vote, because so many, in addition to all the issues, just straight up resources are on the line. When we don't vote, we forfeit our right to say this is how our money should be spent, money that we pay taxes into. That's the first thing. I think there are some major differences at the top of the ticket. I don't want to go super deep, but I think we got to start having conversations. I thank you, Pastor, for bringing up Project 2025. It ain't the same. We talking about we can use any sort of dystopian movie. Like that is where some folks want to take us to, where we don't have rights. And I'll leave it there. And locally, specifically, there's an opportunity on the ballot right now with Prop 6. I would say, I think all the ballot initiatives. Thank you, Coach Crump, for that. Like, there's many different opportunities to support the health and wellness of Californians, but there's also something special about a historic opportunity to continue the legacy of our ancestors with Proposition 6. Like the 13th Amendment was created to say we can keep Black people enslaved, right? Just do it by another name, by keeping them incarcerated. And that has been all over the place. It's been in most of the constitutions in our state constitutions in our country, and it still exists right now today. So right now, if you are formerly incarcerated, if you are currently incarcerated, they can make you work. And some folks be like, well, people, ain't that the whole reason they should be in there, should be punished? They made a mistake. First of all, we need to reframe that. Actually, folks make mistakes and we need rehabilitation, because 95% of the folks who are inside, they're going to come home. They're going to come home. And so they can come home actually rehabilitated, or they can come home at having pushed the broom around for a while and not actually dealt with the issues, whether it was anger management courses or substance abuse issues or victim impact. There's so many different ways that folks want to actually get support, but they're forced to labor instead. Mm-hmm. Proposition 6 changes Article 1, Section 6 of our Constitution. Instead of saying involuntary servitude is illegal except for punishment as a crime, it says it's illegal. It's prohibited. And that changes everything, because now folks actually have the opportunity to focus on rehabilitation. Do you know how, like, our recidivism rate is off the chain? We spend $134,000 per year on somebody who's incarcerated. We could be doing so much more with our resources if we stop this revolving door. And that first starts with the conversation about rehabilitation, giving folks the right to say, actually, instead of doing this work, I want to focus on being better for my child when I get home, for my partner when I get home, for my community when I get home. I want to take education classes. Instead, I will say this, and then I will close up. The larger issue also is they're not allowing folks to do it and punishing them instead. So if I choose, right, I choose to say, you know what, I actually really have an issue with substance abuse. Fentanyl is real, right? Like the drug overdose crisis is a thing. It's happening inside too. Somebody says, I want to focus on AA and NA. That class is happening at the same time as I'm supposed to work. If I say, you know what, I'm going to go focus on this, they can take my phone calls away. They can take my access to seeing my children. They can extend my sentence in prison, right? They can do so many things to coerce you to work rather than work on yourself. And we know that helps nothing but corporations and the state ultimately. So we got to change it, and we got an opportunity with Prop 6.
Wow. I see your finger, Pastor Anderson. Did you want to add something to that?
I just want to say on Prop 6, I think Brandon knocked up the park, but I just want to help people. The cold part about Prop 6 is this: when people are incarcerated and they are working jobs, they are learning real skills, right? So when people come back to church, they've learned how to do cleaning, they learn how to do maintenance, they learn how to be riveters, they learn how to do firework. None of that counts the minute you go back to society. So think about that. You got paid 25 cents or 2 cents a day to labor and learn a skill, become an expert at it. And then when you go home, they tell you none of that matters because you're a slave. Like think through that, because then sometimes I hear people talk Prop 6. They're like, oh well, someone was locked up, and it's like, yeah, your cousin was locked up. It came out. They don't know how to do nothing. Actually, your cousin may know how to do more than you, right? But they can't actualize those skills because it does not count for actually getting jobs outside of the prison. So that's why it's slavery.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Whew.
Wow. That's tough.
I would say you got some on it.
No, I'm trying to absorb all of that and take that in, because it seems like you're in, like you saying, you're in there working as a job, but when you come out, it just strips all that from you. It takes you right back pre-prison.
And on top of that, they're making you do it. Yeah. And if you don't, then man, okay. All right, Coach, we're gonna go to you. Oh, what you got?
So with it being on the ballot, what's the opposing views? What's the yes and the no for that? Does anyone know?
The beautiful part is we have no opposition. So we've literally worked with the governor's office, worked with CDCR to, put provisions in, have conversations about. So I think one of the things that folks talk about, well, pay. This proposition doesn't focus on pay. What it really focuses on is first ending the practice of forced labor. We need to have a bunch of conversations after this, but the first thing we need to do is just end slavery in the first place. That sets the foundation for a bunch of stuff going forward. So on this topic, there is actually, if you look it up, there's no opposition, not one formalized. When you look up Ballotpedia or whatnot, it'll say yes or no. There's no opposition on this, which is interesting. If I could go a little bit more, we don't the polls. Yeah, we're struggling with the polls. If I'm being honest with y'all, you would think that it's a slam dunk, but the way the title and summary is written, it talks specifically about involuntary servitude and forced labor, not slavery. So calling it that gives folks the mindset, and to Pastor's point, like there's kind of this mindset that, well, if you incarcerated, you deserve it, and also like you probably don't got no skills, like all of those kind of things. And that narrative, I think the public safety narrative we have right now in general is hurting us from getting to ending slavery. And so we actually need support from the pastors here, from folks of faith in particular, to bring the moral voice to this, to saying like, nah, actually slavery, it is slavery and it is wrong. And we actually have to vote about it, but get other folks to vote to say yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Well, we're gonna be talking a little bit more about this in our time, and we'll probably end right back up into it with this question. But since Coach is in the Sacramento area, I wanted to find out from you, and you kind of said some things already, but what should voters in this area be aware of on the county ballot?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Brandon. I will say, just to add really quickly before I go into the local stuff, the California Legislative Black Caucus is actually really in support of Prop 6 and as a part of the whole reparations conversation, which is a whole nother Fred and Angela show. We're gonna have to have that conversation.
Yeah, I got somebody in the wings I'm trying to lock down for that.
Yeah, and I would be happy to come back if you will have me to have that conversation with y'all. But that's a piece of it. So they're in support of that as well. But more to your question, when it comes specifically to local. Some of the things that we're looking at, right now, I would say it would obviously be Prop 6, Prop 32, raising the minimum wage, from $17 an hour from where it is now to immediately $17 an hour. And then on January 1, 2025 to $18 an hour. Mm-hmm. So I know that can certainly help a lot of folks locally who are working, and, some students who may be going to school, making minimum wage, trying to pay rent and gas and everything else that's high and that has increased. Try to just, look at the economics of that. In addition to that, there's a rent control measure as well locally. We're looking at, trying to repeal the, I believe it's the Costa-Hawkins Act. So looking at that, looking at how that impacts local voters as well. And just generally speaking, locally in the city of Sacramento, we're having a pretty intense mayoral race right now. Our sister, her name is Dr. Flo Kofer. She is running for mayor. She's not taking any corporate money. She's not using former election money, to raise, I guess you could say, funds. This is her coming from being a public health expert and really looking at prevention in a number of different areas. And she's running against a current assembly member and former city council member by the name of Kevin McCarty. So that will be an interesting race as well. You can definitely check out both of their websites, floatformayor.com and I believe kevinmccarty.com, where you can find information on that. Right now, I kind of alluded to this, City of Sacramento is currently focusing on racial equity. So with the Racial Equity Council that I'm a member of, we're looking at a SCORE initiative, and SCORE is an acronym, Sacramento Centered on Racial Equity, where it really focuses on just all of the ways in which we, have identified, the ways in which community members experience racism, structural racism, looking at law enforcement and justice, looking at our community from healthcare, mental health care, elder care, folks who might be disabled, looking at the institutions, our schools, so on and so forth, and looking at how those institutions need to be held accountable. Look at who are the decision makers in those spaces and what those faces look like. Are they representative of the community? And who gets to tell our story, right? And with that, this is comprised of Black, Latino, Asian American, Hmong. We've got some Jewish brothers and sisters in there, just across the gamut. It's about 17 of us. And with that, we are really focusing on just really getting into connection with local residents and talking about telling their story, their neighborhoods, getting that neighborhood voice. I think that's really important. And in the interest of time, I'm trying to be real quick and talk about a couple different things. Another thing that's happening in Sacramento is a basic income program that just recently opened, I believe, September 30th, and they will close October 13th. And basically, the basic income program is an income program for Sacramento County residents who meet a certain income threshold, and you have to live in specific zip codes in order to be eligible. And with that, it's a check for $725 a month, no questions asked, just to help with basic needs, rent, food, transportation, so on and so forth. The zip codes, I believe, 95815. Essentially, it's the north area of Sacramento, Del Paso Heights, and then South Sac area. And with South Sac, you mentioned a thing that I kind of wanted to allude to as well, Reverend Anderson, when you talked about the Meadowview area, I believe, or excuse me, Pastor Smith, rather, when you talked about the Meadowview area and how many folks were living their lives. And folks may not know this, but they call South Sac Iraq. A media outlet actually called it South Sac Iraq based off of the number of gun violence incidents that had happened, and it was comparative to Iraq at the time. So with that being said, one of the huge pieces that helped reduce that gun violence was a program that's no longer there that we're trying to get back called Advanced Peace, where the city of Sacramento saw no youth homicides for a period of 2 years. It was a huge program where we connected with folks who were in the life and connected to a number of different, I would say, a culture that may not be welcome, or a culture that is, frowned upon by city officials and so on and so forth, but a culture that I would say our community, this community, folks in this space would wrap our arms around and love and welcome them to, improve and help and better themselves. And that's what the Advanced Peace program was, and it actually worked. But the city of Sacramento scrapped the funding, and the program went away. And as the program went away, increasing gun violence went up. So there are a number of different things that are happening in the city of Sacramento. School board right now, I'm, like I said, a part of the African American Advisory Board. There's 17 different recommendations that the school board has agreed upon to implement, and there's a time frame connected with that. And the school board has actually implemented some of them, but not all. We've had a number of different listening sessions where we've reached out to community members, parents, teachers, school staff, and just really kind of connected, as well as with students and having student voice as well. So there's a number of different things that are happening in the city of Sacramento right now that, will certainly be changing in the next, I would say, by January of next year. So definitely a lot to look forward to.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if I caught it, because you did say a lot. There was a lot going on, and that's good. But being that we both work downtown, something that I see most of the time coming in is a lot of homelessness. So was there any bills as far as the county?
Well,
I know the states got, and we'll get into that, but is there anything that the county is doing?
Well, so what I found that's interesting, the city of Sacramento and the mayor has taken an approach that has not been welcomed by community residents. They're basically all of these places like Camp Resolution and so on and so forth, where folks were able to be. The mayor and others have essentially swept them up. And the problem is that they're telling folks where they cannot be, but not telling folks where they can be. Where folks can go to charge their phone, where folks can go to use the bathroom when it's hot outside, where folks can go just to be a little bit under the shade, or when it's cold to get inside for refuge. So there's a number of different things that are happening, different community groups that are working towards really lobbying and advocating towards really trying to change some of those outcomes. But what I found is really interesting is that the city of Sacramento and the county of Sacramento are not in cahoots with one another. They haven't taken that collaborative approach. They both have different ways in which they want to address the issue. So what we're hoping to do is have that collaborative conversation and work with the county, and in hopes that the county will work with the city and the city work with them while they're working with us as community residents to try to see what we can do to tackle this issue.
Right. Appreciate it. And I bring it up because, like I said, I know if I went to Pastor Anderson, I'm sure he could speak to this in the LA area, but it's being those things that you see every day, and you're wondering, and I've heard of some of the programs that you're talking about, but where is this process? Because what I'll see is a group here one day or a couple of days, I go the same way, and then they'll sweep them out, and then eventually they'll come back in. But what are they doing to help them that they don't have to do that? And to hear what you're saying, that the county and the city are kind of not working together. Are you really truly wanting to solve the problem, or is there some financial gain if you don't? So did you want to add anything to that?
No, not right now.
Okay. Pastor Smith, for our people down in the Stockton area. As you know, we do reach worldwide, but we focusing on the region right now. But Pastor Anderson, if you got something for us that's going down in LA that we need to know, maybe some people on here that are listening from LA that might need to know. But I'm gonna start with Pastor Smith on what's going on the ballots in San Joaquin County.
Yeah, so try to make this brief. We have some very interesting and entertaining races that are going on in San Joaquin County, Stockton specifically with our city council. We do have a race that is a city council that a lot of eyes nationally are on this race with our Hollywood homeboy, because he's from Stockton, the city of Stockton, and that's Jason Lee running for city council in District 6. And so against incumbent Kimberly Wormley, that's a real exciting and interesting race that's going on. Our mayoral race is, I say that's an interesting race too. And what I mentioned about that is that the mayor who's running is a supervisor right now, Mayor Tom Patty. He's a supervisor right now. And so one of the things that we're looking at that has to do with the ballot is that the Tom Patty introduced a measure that is actually going to be on the ballot for San Joaquin County, and it's Measure R. And what Measure R does, it basically requires people that are suspected of substance abuse and who receive public benefits that they have to undergo mandatory drug screening and treatment.
How are you suspected?
Suspected.
What does that? I mean, what does that look like? Who makes that decision?
We know what it looks like.
Who's telling?
We know what it looks like.
Go on, man. Go on.
How does that work?
So with that being said, is that and what I'll lift up about that is that, again, this is what we see as a punitive approach, to a narrative that's saying this is something where they're refusing drug treatment. So the suspect would need to go through testing, and if tested, positive for a substance abuse, instead they would be forced into treatment in order to continue to receive their benefits. So again, that could be a whole conversation about who it targets. They're saying that it's not for anyone over the age of 65. They're saying that it's for a population of single people who are on public assistance, and that means public housing, or through the EBT, public funds. And so again, they're saying this, and it has to do a lot with, this has been happening for a while, and the hopes, I should say, of this measure is that it will be a test. Like Stockton is testing stuff out because they're saying that if it works, they want to expand it to the entire valley.
Oh,
so it's already in effect in San Francisco. And so they use the model from San Francisco in order to bring here, and with the narrative of that this will help make things better because it will help to get them help that they need. But again, no one believes that addiction, if you are, addiction, this is a medical health issue, public health issue. This is not something, again, that you punish, somebody for. Correct. If you better get better, you deal with the issue. And so, I'm just saying, we know we've done math, right? So I'm saying that 1 + 1 = 2. So if one person's running for mayor that introduced this measure, then that equals, if this person is going to be in office, what type of things are we looking at? So measure R is the measure. And I would just encourage people to go online and look at, look it up, look up Measure R through the San Joaquin government organization, sjgov.org, and read about it. get more information so you can form your opinion. But again, in a collective, I should say, spaces that we've talked about this, is that we don't quite see this as a solution, to what may be an addiction problem. So why do you punish someone and they're on assistance for a reason, right? I mean, we know the times that we're living in. And so now you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to take away your help, and then so that you can say, oh, give me help. It just doesn't make good. My dad used to say, don't even make good nonsense.
Right.
Do the statistics that they have in Frisco prove that this is something to try, or is just, hey, they're doing it, let's see what it's like? Because it just, like you said, it made no sense.
So I wouldn't say that the statistics is something that they have lifted up to say that it works. But the case made was in San Francisco, known famously for being progressive. It overwhelmingly passed and was approved by 58% of the supervisors, there. And so again, we're talking county, right? So the county supervisors there were successful in passing it. And so now they're looking across the board for the supervisors in other counties to also ride upon the same success. And let's make the valley great again. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's implement this program.
So I understand this. This is not a vote of the people. This is a vote of officials.
Right.
Okay.
So they put it on the ballot, but it stems from, the implementation, because in your most places in your supervisors have that power to basically come up with that law, get it passed there at the county level with the supervisors, and then put it on the ballot. There's many different ways that we have to go about it. If we're doing it as the people, in order to get a ballot measure, there you're talking about bodies, you're talking about money. So bodies, bucks, you're talking about a long process and everything like that. But they have the actual ability in their position to actually put this, on the ballot to pass. Get it to pass.
Wow. It just sounds like someone is benefiting from this, but not necessarily the people that will be forced into treatment.
Right.
But there's entities and other municipalities even that may be benefiting from this if that passes.
I won't say the name of my organization, but I always say that about some of the things that we do every now and then. It has to be somebody's benefiting
kickback
by something that just does not make sense.
Right.
So,
and also it reinforces the aspect going back to slavery, which incarcerates people and keeps people in this constant loop of quote unquote involuntary servitude, which we also know is incarceration, i.e. slavery. So it all goes back to the cycle, and the ingenuity of racism, structural racism, is that there doesn't have to be an individual, one person like a George Wallace out there anymore. It's the system now is actually spitting out, and it's intended like this. The system is designed to create these outcomes so that way they get the outcomes they get. So that way legacies and generations will continue to perpetuate the harm that has been done. So I'm so thankful y'all brought this up. And yeah, I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
Oh, that's good. I'm on, because I'm gonna give us if you guys can hang at least that half an hour. But if it doesn't take that long, that's great. I want to shift into some of the propositions that you all think, and it's probably going to be all of them, but we can't do all of them. But maybe the top 5, and I definitely want Brandon to have time to really expand, because when Pastor Smith told me about this, I was like, let's call him right now, almost, so we can talk more about this, because I was just floored. And then, of course, he sent me a video on YouTube, and I'm looking at this thing where they're bringing in people to work in everyday facilities, and I'm like, what is going on? And I always say, if something's going on somewhere else, just keep living. It's most likely going to reach you. So I want to give you time, but I want you all to whatever propositions you think need to at least be touched tonight. Let's do that. I have one question that just came up, and we'll let you, Brandon, start with it. But the question is, how many ways can you implement slavery?
Wow, that's a wild question. Hey, and the reality is when you've so Pastor Curtis went with us to Ghana. This is actually quite appropriate for the last couple of years with Black Men Maroon Space and Coach Crump, man, we got to see you there next year.
I know.
Yeah, I didn't want to put you out there, but Coach coming next year. There it is.
I'm coming, man. I had a conflict. I couldn't get out of it. It was
Hey,
but you know what? Everything happens in the right time. So I'm ready.
It does. So we got our we got resources to do it for two more years, but this is just bringing to mind, that question brings to mind when we are at the Cape Coast Slave Dungeon and we're actually seeing where they took our ancestors and how they caged our folks and what they did to our women, what they did to our people. And then you trace back it was a system. The way we have county jails and prisons and transportation and work, like they did the same, like it is mirrored off of our experience back in Cape Coast, Ghana. So when I think about Proposition 6, I think about it as an opportunity for us to tap in and reconnect with our ancestors, to be completely honest with you. It's like a fight that we have to take on and transform. The reality is, I'll say it again, right in our Constitution right now, right? The 13th Amendment, we all know the history behind that. I hope if you haven't watched that documentary is it Ava DuVernay? It is a beautiful explanation of like how the South and they made this great compromise to keep us as slaves, right? And to this day, right, like our people in California still experience that. For us, it's not the 13th Amendment. It's called Article 1, Section 6. It is a loophole that still allows people inside to be forced into labor. And it does actually impact both, I would say, corporations. Less corporations, to be honest with you, though. If I'm keep it a bean. Your Target, your Walmart, like they used to, they got hip to it, so not anymore. But that labor does impact fires. That labor does impact, desks and chairs and clothes and all of that we actually use in our school system and in the prison. It does come from that labor. And so it is still slavery by another name. And I think the nuanced part of this is that folks are already doing a bunch of labor and I know Pastor Anderson was saying a little earlier, like folks come home and they aren't even able to take those skills with them to have gainful employment because of another part of our system, which is collateral consequences. And so those collateral consequences is I can't actually be certified to do certain things. I can't I can't get licensed to do certain things if you're formerly incarcerated. If you're formerly incarcerated, oftentimes you can't even go on a field trip with your child and be a chaperone. So there's all in the background, there's all this other stuff that's happening that punishes our people, keeps them in bondage, and then shames them afterwards. Mm-hmm. This doesn't fix all that, but Proposition does start the conversation to say you actually have choice in what you do with your body. That matters. So you get to decide. And principally, it's ultimately from the folks who put this on the ballot are formerly incarcerated folks who did time, who themselves have transformed their lives and said, like, we want to give the opportunity for other folks to do it, in partnership with, as Conrad said, the
Black
congressional. Say, go ahead.
The California Legislative Black Caucus.
California Legislative Black Caucus, Assembly Member Wilson has helped to lead the charge. And this conversation started 4 years ago. ACA 3, then ACA 8, and then the work of the legislature got it on the ballot as Proposition 6. So sometimes we see these propositions or stuff that's on the ballot, and we're like, who brought this here? How did this? This got here from community members, folks you probably actually know are tapped in with some kind of way, connected to your church. Like, they are the people who brought this forward and got this on the ballot. It is a really community-led effort. And the other thing I'll say is, this coalition of folks are the one out spreading the word. So you got folks in LA, in the Bay, in SAC, who are moving towards a day of action on October 8th to get the word out about Proposition 6. Why is that important? Pastor VIP already got his mail-in ballot, but most of us are going to be getting our mail-in ballots October 7th through October 12th. And so that is the week where we need to be charging up, talking about it, speaking about it, hearing about it. In fact, October 8th, Pastor Smith is going to be co-hosting a clergy call for folks who want to hear about Prop 6 and moving towards an end slavery Sabbath, October 18th through 20th. We want to be inviting folks of faith all across the state to talk about Prop 6, pray about it, preach about it. Vote. You got your ballot already. Vote yes on it, and then do some sort of action, whether it's phone banking, handing out some flyers, knocking on some doors, getting the word out. This, again, real true community effort, and it is a game changer. The insider conversation is that it starts so much about collateral consequences, about how we see work inside, about what folks get when they transition out, about how we think about punishment. And I'm really excited about it. Prop 6.
The events that you mentioned, do you guys have flyers or anything like that you can send to us, so at least we can make sure that we put them on our page, and that we're doing that? That's what this whole thing is about, to try to do our part to let people know. We will also make sure that they're on our pages. So
indeed, definitely
make sure I have those and attend the call. So yeah. Pat, go ahead, babe. Go ahead.
I want to jump into the Prop 13. And it's a little confusing because it's talking about renters and homeowners.
Did you say 13?
I mean, sorry, 33.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm like,
I forgot the other three.
I'm like, what's
33?
Where's 13? Where's 13 at?
Forgive me. So it's because it's talking about it's bad for both homeowners and renters. How so? Does anybody have any information on 33?
Yeah, I mean, with regard to specifically the fact that everything is increasing. So looking at the ways in which renters have spent, more than half their income on keeping a roof over their heads, and then we talk about how that impacts the homelessness crisis, and so on and so forth. I think it's certainly a topic worthy of discussion, but also it's not as advantageous for homeowners either. So it's one of those issues that keeps coming up. It has failed. I believe it failed a ballot measure in 2018 and then again in 2020. And then lawmakers at the state capitol tried to introduce legislation and the governor vetoed it. So, there's been, the supporters of it will say that it doesn't go far enough, and it prevents, basically it would be the year to upend the decades old ruling of rent control. But then on the other side, landlord groups are saying that, opposing the idea, those who do oppose it have deep pockets and they'll be willing to spend a small fortune to convince voters that rent control is not the answer to the state's housing crisis. So it's essentially one of those things where you're looking at cities like San Francisco, cities like Oakland. They're calling West Oakland East San Francisco. To the point where it's like you can't even the amount of housing just for rent in the Bay Area as well as Los Angeles is so just ridiculously high. And that this goes into like the housing market and all these other things, so I think for those who are really trying to overturn it, and they've been trying over and over and over again, I think I have an inclination that it may very well be overturned because you've got a new wave of young folks who are turning 18 and who are getting more politically engaged and who are, trying to pay rent. So as well as tackle the housing and homelessness issue. But I think that, just me personally, it's going to be one of those sticky issues, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next. So.
Yeah, very much so, because apartments now, small apartments are going for more than $2,500 a month, and with minimum wage,
right,
not even at $17 yet. I mean, who can afford that? You have to live with someone in order to be able to afford to live on your own.
Yeah, and someone asked
both them people just to live.
Right.
Yeah, someone asked in the comments again, how many ways can you implement slavery? There's economic slavery, right? There's obviously physical slavery, there's mental slavery, there's economic slavery as well, where it's going to keep you in this cycle of getting up, going to work, putting 10 hours to make minimum wage, which might be $17 an hour, and then you got to have roommates and all types of other stuff happening in your house just to keep a roof over your head. And do that for years and years as the body keeps the score when we talk about health and wellness and how that impacts you as you age. These are all things that for us, those of us who are people of color who often are in these lower income jobs and are in situations where we have to have roommates, it certainly impacts our health, so these are conversations that need to continue to happen locally in communities and churches and so on and so forth to figure out ways that we can work to try to tackle the issue.
Yeah.
I just want to just jump in real quick, on that question too, as far as the slavery. You guys remember that commercial, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie-Roll? I'm like, I mean, how many ways, right? I mean, there's so many topics that we can continue to talk on for a long period of time. But when you think about the systems that are set up, and that's Coach Crump was saying, the abuse, that these systems have caused when it comes to stress for our people, and we find ourselves in these systems, even when it seems like, I know Coach Crump talked about, some of the low income, but even for those of us who the system has been okay to allow us to get to certain levels, is there still who feels free in that day-to-day job, even if they're making, a salary? Do you feel that you're getting what you're worth?
And how does that impact your mental?
Right.
Yes.
Do you feel respected in that place? How many times has the promotion gone to somebody who's lighter than you? Who's less knowledgeable, than you, that you well capable, that we are, how brilliant we are as a people, but yet still look, we're still fighting the fights of fairness and equity and affirmative action. Can we have diversity? Can we have that? And without it being co-opted by another group of saying we're still being left, at the bottom. So how many years do you work for a job and still be told how much you can have of that once you finish working half your whole life? And now you can get a piece of it to live the rest of your life.
Sure.
Wow.
Man. Before we go further, I just real quick, I know people were probably like, well, it was 5 boxes. Now it's just 4. Pastor Anderson, he had another engagement that was close. So he let us know that he had to jump off. So we just wanted to let him know we appreciate him coming and doing his quick message and blessing us.
And drop the mic.
Yeah, and dropped the mic and ran off. We appreciate him. I think one of the other reasons about these propositions, and like I said, y'all just been throwing this stuff out. And she brought up this 33 is Pastor Curtis and I were having a conversation, and we were talking about this actual proposition. And I was saying, there's a commercial that's running where it's a young Black lady, and she's talking against it. And so you're thinking, if you're not thinking and you're not going and looking at what's in here, you're thinking, oh, well, the sister is saying, don't mess with this. And so that's how I'm gonna vote, when I vote that day. Yeah. But then you see the other commercial and it was like, okay, that makes a little sense. Yeah. So I think, and this was, the main vein part of this tonight is trying to teach people how to understand these books, tips, small tips that they cannot be, caught off by a TV commercial. Because, mostly even the small political people that are running, all they can do is just talk bad about each other, just throw mud on each other. Nobody's talking about really what they're going to do. They're just talking about what the other person is not going to do. So I want you guys to talk about whatever propositions you think, like I said, are important for this time, but also, add a little bit of how people should look at this stuff, because like you said, what all of you have said earlier, these things shape our tomorrows. Right. And it's already one thing where people won't vote, but we don't want people to be duped into voting for something that's not at their best interest, and they think they're voting for their best interest. So I don't care who starts. Y'all go.
Can I jump in? I'll jump in because I know Brandon gonna drop the mic or Pastor. they're gonna throw it down, But I'll just say, going back to something Brandon spoke about, which was, I don't want to get lost, is that the way the language is written is, again, by design to get you to think a certain way. And if your eyes and mind is not open to the rhetoric of the language. When I was working at the state capitol, they used to have a saying, the devil is in the details. Mm-hmm. So you read the language and you think, oh, it's fine. But you really read the language and uncover what they're really saying, it's actually not fine. And that same thing goes with the media. They are very, very good at having people who look like us, people who need money, who need a check to get on and be paraded around and be a prop for a cause that would harm people that look like them and communities from where they come from. And unfortunately, it's the reality of what happens. But I will just say that, when you have that rhetoric and that language, you really have to unpack that. In Sacramento, we have a fabulous group called the Sacramento Sisters Circle. First and foremost, let me just say, trust Black women, okay? I'm going to say it again. Trust Black women, okay? Because they ain't going to steer you wrong. Sacramento Sister Circle every year has a voter guide and basically breaks everything down. And then this kind of goes into what I was saying about our organizing in our local communities. You can work with other folks to create a voter guide to break stuff down. Sacramento Sister Circle, they do a fabulous job of doing that. Go check out their website when you get a chance. And, really just focusing on how we can get people to better understand what's at stake so they aren't as apathetic or aren't as, kind of like whatever when it comes to something that's so important. So I'll just leave that there. And yeah, I'll pass the mic to whoever wants to take it.
I'm gonna jump in because I know Brandon, like you said, is gonna be a slam dunk. Yeah. But I just want to say as you were asking about 33, one of the resources that I also use and is going to one is calmatters.org. And so we're on there. They list like the propositions, and they list also the supporters and the opposers, and they actually list how much money has been invested into this. So when you look and see who's investing, where's the money coming from, that tells you a lot about is it good, who you vibe with, because in this work altogether, trust is important, right? And so as he was talking about the sisters, you have to be able to touch some people or be around people that you can trust, because we know not all skin folk are kinfolk.
Yeah.
Right. And so, with that, being said, is that we have to understand, okay, who are you connected to? And then when you look at this, for instance, if you're looking at 33 on the I say supporters, $41.8 million have been raised for support. Opposition, $76.6 million has been raised in the opposition. And the California Small Business Association, the California Rental Housing Association, the California Senior Alliance. These are some of the organizations that are pumping that money in. There's a long list. And when you start seeing certain names, certain senators, certain assembly members, if you get into that deep, you can tell, like, is this, first of all, an organization or even a person who supports my values? Right. And the things that I believe in. What have they, especially when you have elected officials on there, what have they voted on in the past? What's their record? And so this is like a lot of in-depth, diving. And I'm not sure, how many people will take the time to do that, because some people just want to know. I mean, you get phone calls and they just say, what you doing? I'd be like, what you doing? But with knowing that we have that type of connection is also that responsibility that those of us who have those connections is to be able to have the right information, because we're in a serious time right now where it's easy to be seduced by substitutes.
That's right.
Right. And so we got to be, the real thing. So when you talk about those real sisters, they get really connected to the folks you can trust to engage in these conversations. Lastly, I'll say on last week, we did a ballot party, going in deep dives on the ballot. And I remember one sister from the Bay Area who lives here in Stockton. She walked in and she's just like, I just want to let you know, I'm not voting for nobody. Right. And so she's like, I'm gonna just tell you, at the beginning, I don't want to sit around play, fill in this, facade or whatever. However, what I would like to get to is that I told her ever since that night, I've been sharing her story, because when she left there that night, after engaging in conversation with the group and hearing different perspectives and talking it out and realizing what's on there and getting an understanding, and all that she was getting understanding. And so therefore left the place of saying, my voice is my vote. My vote is my voice, so to speak. So, and she basically even signed a commitment card that night to vote, and now has a testimony in order telling other people about how she came in negative, but it was lack of understanding that had her there. It was frustration as well, because life is life, and in those two. And so we got into those discussions too about what life is for us right now, for a young single mother right now. But again, it was, if we don't show up, then what can we do? Because this is the time that we have to trust that we can make a difference, and we continue to fight. It doesn't stop on that day, on the day that we cast the ballots. Civic engagement is, you don't just vote for a season, you vote for life.
Right.
And I mean for life.
Right. For life. Yeah. Absolutely.
Let me say I didn't lift up Prop 36, and I also want to bring some attention to Prop 36 as well. And this is also tied into what we've been talking about as far as the favor, because with this measure, with this prop, it basically threatens some work that we did prior in 2014, where we passed Prop 47, that reduced, some felonies to misdemeanors. It caused California to construct organize the prison systems that allowed, some low-level offenders actually to reduce their sentences to actually come out. And the false narrative is that that's the reason that we are having so much retail theft and smash and grabs. That is not true. Even our own police department here in San Joaquin County in Stockton, city of Stockton, has shown us the data that is not connected at all. But that's the narrative that is being perpetuated and being used in order to get this passed. And there's also a lot of money. The district attorneys, and things like that. I mean, if you look it up, calmatters.org, you'll see the long list of those who are in support. And the result is devastating because it will repopulate, our prison system. And, from what we worked hard to start to reduce those numbers.
Yes.
So we got 6 and 36 in a connection, because it gets you in. Now we dealing with the slave
involuntary
environment. Sorry about that. I had something pop up. Brother Brandon, you up? We're gonna let you have your whatever it is that you got with propositions, and then we're gonna prepare to close out, because I don't want to keep y'all. Though this is good though, but I want to lose. I don't want to lose the vote, lose the people either.
Yeah, I deeply appreciate y'all and everything that folks have shared in this space. 36 comes to mind to double down is important. I mean, 10 years ago, I was part of the squad to pass Prop 47, where we changed a lot in California. It was literally 10 years ago.
That's what's up.
Pastor, right? Like we knocked on doors, we made phone calls. It was the first time that I was with Pico at the time. It was the first time that like a faith-based group in California had done mass voter outreach in that kind of way. I was a faith-based organizer for almost 10 years. So like part of putting our values on the line is about voting, is about saying, hey, kind of offering opportunity for everybody to be seen as God's people, right? And to be honest with y'all, for 10 years later to be like, we're going backwards, it's a little bit, it's shocking, and then it shocks you right into action. And so the reality is, unless we do some massive outreach around Prop 36, it's likely to pass. That's how the polling looks. And folks of faith have a lot to say in what happens with our laws, because our people, we vote. And as Pastor said, it is literally going to take us backwards. It is going to put more people in prison for longer, for doing less. Period. And they've taken the public narrative and shaken us so much over the last couple of years. I don't know about y'all, but the bipping is out of control. I'm in the Bay, and I don't leave a gum wrapper in my car no more. They might bust my window for that. That's how my mind works, right? I was in Florida.
I know I make light of it, but I know.
I was in Florida, and I don't leave my backpack nowhere. So I put it on. They're like, bro, just leave it in the car. I'm like, no way, right? But the question becomes, does that mean that our response to that is people need to go to prison for longer? Right. And it's not even how they're using it to message us is not connected to what's actually happening. What we need is opportunities we need economic opportunities.
Come on.
Period. The stuff that actually is happening is organized crime.
Yeah.
And people who look like us ain't necessarily even benefiting from it long term. They take that laptop, they take that whatever, it go through 3-4 hands, it's somewhere else being sold. We don't with love, I love us, but we don't have the infrastructure to bring guns here and or to set up networks to move that amount of like devices around like that. We just don't have it. So somebody upstream is making money off of us. And now some of those same forces upstream are now putting us back in cages for longer times for doing less. It's an opportunity for us to just wake up and recognize the game is always going. The game is always going. So I think 36, just to sum it up, 36 is a ploy. We actually have to say no on 36. Yes on 6. No on 36.
Got it. Woo, man. Like I said, we could go all night with this, but y'all got lives. My man Coach, he already let us know back in the green room. He probably been up now for 12 hours. So
yeah,
he's working for 10. So I don't want to keep you all, but man, I want to thank you guys for coming on and sharing with us and sharing with our Just Moments family. This is important. It's, like we said, we understand the national stage is very important, but these things that's happening right here in our own state, in our own cities, they're well as just as important. Because the measure that Pastor Smith talked about,
Measure R,
that could slide right up here into Sacramento County.
yeah.
So because like you said, they copied San Francisco, so it isn't like it's an impossible thing to happen. So really appreciate y'all. What I want to do before we go is any websites, or I know I've tried to put them up when you say something, but any websites or anything like that you all can give me, I will repost up to let people know where they can look for information. If I can type as fast as you said it, I may do it now. But if you can send it to me later, I'll definitely make sure I get it posted on our pages. So, Coach, we'll start with you.
Yeah. I think one thing that I really I kind of talked about it briefly, but the income, because that's going to close on October 13th. So if you're in Sacramento County and you live in South Sac, you can get information at, is there a way I can drop it in the link, or?
Well, if you have the ability to do commenting, you can put it in yourself.
Because it's FFE. So Frank Edward Samson Paul.org. So FFESP.org. And that stands for Family First Economic Support Pilot. And it's a countdown timer on the top of the website that says 12 days, 3 hours, 25 minutes, and so many seconds that you can apply. And basically, it's really simple. If you meet the eligibility criteria and you live in certain zip codes, you will be able to be eligible for a check of $725 of extra income every month. So that's one thing I certainly want to be sure to share with you all. Another website is called racialequitysac.org. And that talks about the Racial Equity Alliance and the work we're doing in Sacramento when it comes to racial justice and racial equity. So racialequitysac.org.
Oh, I needed that. I needed the org part.
Yeah, racialequitysac.org is certainly, I would say. And then for the voter cheat sheet, the voter guide with the Black women, I know it's Sacramento Sister Circle is the name of their group, but their website is called Our Rightful Place. OurRightfulPlace.com. And then you can put /vote, because they got a bunch of other stuff on there when it comes to their sister circle and whatnot. But they have a voter cheat sheet. They have a full voter guide where they break it all down. And then they got like a 1-page voter cheat sheet. So you can look there and find resources to help you maybe make a better informed decision on what some of these ballot measures as well as candidates in Sacramento are doing. And they have their own recommendations. You can go with their recommendation or not. It's up to you. But just so you have a better a way of someone breaking it down a little bit more palatable. So when we talk about that rhetoric and how they wordsmith these words to make it sound a certain way. They really kind of like, pull the veil off of all of that and really help you understand the meat potatoes of everything. So that's what I would say. Those are some of the links that I would highlight for folks if they're in Sacramento and they're interested to learn more. Definitely check it out.
All right. Dr. Smith?
Yes. So I think you put up something before. I said the calmatters.org is a good research space for Stockton information. It's sjgov.org, where you can actually go to get more information about registrars, office and some of the county measures. I would say there is that important dates to know is that October 21st is the last day to register to vote. And then I will send you a flyer because we're hosting a candidates forum with all the races on next week. The 8th, the 8th, 10th, and 11th, we will be having forum. And on the 11th, we'll be doing a debate with the city council members. And that will be held at Victory and Praise Church each night at 7:00 here in Stockton. And then the other thing that I put in the comments to put on is called intheexception.com. And that's just a deeper dive to show this fight that has been going on for a while, ever since the proposition, ever since the 13th Amendment, work has been going on across the country. And it goes a deeper dive into what's happening in those spaces, letters written by those who have been impacted, by this, this forced labor. But it gives you a context of how this fight has been going on for a long time. And, I said, just want to say at the end too, is that, that on my way out, as they say, on my way out, I just want to say is, don't let anybody fool you. This thing about California is shocking to know it's still there.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he paused on.
Going on when it was happening. It was one of the last ones to do it. It was still happening because of our.
Brother?
Yeah, you're gonna have to bag up. You froze up for a second.
You froze right when you was about to say whatever you said.
That's the enemy. Where they at? I said, don't let it fool you that California, it still has this, because California was one of the last free states to abolish slavery. It was still going on even after, the Emancipation Proclamation. There was still evidence that slavery was still existing in the state of California.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, Brother Brandon. I did put yours up. I saw you put yours in the private chat. So vote yes.
Oh, yes, prop6.com. Yeah. Endorse it. Add your name as an endorsement. We're a real community-led effort. Tonight we passed a resolution in City of Oakland. The city council passed a resolution to support Prop 6. We got one that LA Board of Supervisors passed a resolution. We'd love for Stockton, for Sacramento, for as many more of our folks to pass. So you can sign up and get in contact with us if you're willing to do some of that work, and also just endorse yourself. So more, the merrier as we end slavery in California.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you again. I know Pastor Anderson isn't here, but we thank him for his time. Just supporting y'all in whatever way we can. Like I said, Coach, we're gonna be touching base and definitely paying attention to Prop 6. And I know that when you finish Prop 6, you'll be in something else. So Brandon, you and I'll be in touch. I'm always with Pastor Smith, so I can't even say nothing about what we gonna do.
That's fam.
Yeah, that's fam. But man, I thank you all. I thank you for your time. It's been 90 minutes of great information. I put that up way early, Pastor Smith. Your website.
Faith in the Valley.
Yes, I got you. Faith in the Valley. It's in the comments too. But yeah, you guys gave us great 90 minutes. I'm just hoping that people will take the time to do what you said, really look at what they're looking at, not just see something and be like, that must be it, you know, but take a little bit of a deep dive, because this affects all of us in one way or another. And like you all were saying, you don't want to vote for something that ends up running us backwards. I know we didn't touch on the national. We all know what's going on with the national, so we all didn't need to talk about it. But I know one of the things that VP Harris says is, you know, one of her slogans is "We ain't going back." So we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that with some of these locally, with some of these propositions. So we may not be saying these cute little slogans, but you know, we want to fight the same way. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. I was just looking at the All Rightful Place, and looks like they have an app too. So you go on All Rightful Place to look
Trust
at
Black women.
Yes. Yes, it has, looks like just the perusal has good information on it already. So yes. So if we can all go on to the ourrightfulplace.com, and then when you do enter the /vote, it takes you to their homepage, but it also takes you to a voter guide when you click the top right hand corner. So. But thank you all, gentlemen. We appreciate you for giving us insight, information, and giving us some things to really think about and consider, especially when it comes to voting. And I like what Pastor Eddie said in his absence. He said, voting is a prayer. And then he ended with, how will you pray?
Wow.
Ashe.
Yeah, I guess we leave it. Guess we'll leave it right there. Last thing. Thank you, Coach. We put Flow for Mayor.
Yeah, flowformayor.com. Locally in Sacramento, really trying to change the narrative. She is closely connected and recommended by Sacramento Sister Circle as well. So just something to think about when we talk about who we want in office to change some of these outcomes. So.
Yeah, I actually was mad at myself. They did, her and another gentleman did a forum at Center of Praise a couple of weeks ago, which is our home church, and I missed it. And I sure wanted to be there to hear what you had to say. So
it's recorded. It's on the Facebook page or the Instagram page. It's on the social media. All of that stuff is recorded. You can find it.
Okay, all right.
Awesome.
That'll work.
Awesome. Did you want us to also plug in the brotherbewell.com?
Yeah, if you would like to, that's also a good one too. You know, they've done some amazing work, and it was a window of 3 years, and this is their ending year. But we're looking to try to expand that again because it was just so well received. But it's a great resource for young boys and men of color. brotherbewell.com. So you can certainly look to that link and get more information there as well.
Brother Be Well.
Yeah, I'll write it.
Right. I think I got it. It's just Brother Be Well, right?
BE, like Brother Be Well.
Yeah, I think I got it.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna put y'all in the green room real quick, and then
thank you all.
Close out real quick.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you so very much for joining us for our voter edition of Just Moments. We have shared and heard some great information regarding what it is to vote and the importance of voting. And something that Pastor Dr. C.L. Smith said this evening was that if you don't vote, if you don't show up, we give others the power to speak for us.
Mm-hmm.
I want to keep my power for myself.
Absolutely.
And I pray you all want to keep that power for yourself too, because can't anybody speak for me but me and speak the way I need it to be spoke. They can't speak the way I need it to be spoken.
Okay. I got you.
Got it. All right. So thank you all again. Please.
I just want to read these dates off
Sure.
real quick. So now this is in Sacramento County. Pastor CL already said that he got his information, but just to give some of these dates out so you can at least start paying attention, that stuff is coming. October the 7th, the mailing of the vote by mail ballots will be coming. October the 7th through November the 5th, voting period to return your vote mail by ballot. October the 8th, vote by mail secure drop boxes open. October the 21st, is the last day to register to vote. Same day voter registration is available at your county election offices. October 26th, first day vote centers open in Voters Choice Act counties. And I guess you'd have to look those up for early in-person voting. And then, of course, the actual national day to vote is November the 5th.
Yes.
So,
and we will not be meeting on that day.
No.
But we will be meeting on the 3rd Tuesday of this month, right?
Yeah,
Which is...
I'm not sure. Sorry, y'all. Not sure.
We'll keep you updated.
We'll keep you updated. But usually when we start what did you say last time we talked? The Herbs, how'd you call it?
The Burb months.
Yeah.
September, October, November, and December. The Burr months.
Yeah. Well, September is usually the only Burr month that we do too. But the last 3 we kind of leave for one.
Mm-hmm.
But we will see how that goes. But anyway, we thank you all. Thank you all for hanging with us. Thank you all for participating and asking questions. We thank our guest again. I would say Brother Brandon, Brother Conrad, Pastor Eddie, and Pastor Curtis, or I'm sorry, Pastor CL.
We're not gonna let him live that down now.
Because that's the first time I've seen
like,
that.
Who is CL?
Got new name. Right. But thank you all. As always, we appreciate you. We do not take you for granted.
Yes.
So be blessed, and we'll see you soon.